if you go to do a big job like this, don't go and buy a cheap paintbrush. Go ahead and get a Purdy or another good name brand, and as long as you clean them after you use them, they'll last a long time. This brush is probably 15 years old. Great brushes make the job so much better, and it will give you a better finish. First thing we're going to do is add the pre-stain. You're going to want to apply this liberally. We're going to go back and wipe it in with a rag and make sure it's all good and there's no puddles. Make sure we get the edges good. And this just makes this pre-stain makes a really nice finished product. You'll see it just makes the wood take this stain so nice. So I'll pre-stain this board and then show you what happens when you wipe it in. The product I'm using today is a Behr water-based pre-stain wood conditioner. I've been really impressed with this pre-stain and with the whitewash stain I'm using today. So we've got the pre-stain applied liberally. I think you can probably see sheen going down there. I can see some places I've kind of missed, so we're going to rub it in with the cloth real good. Getting the edges. The directions for this pre-stain say after using it you might do some light sanding, but this lumber I've got is really nice and I haven't had to do any sanding whatsoever. I just dust it off and then start applying. And just kind of follow the directions on the can. It seems the stain kind of likes the pre-stain to be a little damp and not quite all the way dry. Now I look down that, I see a nice sheen all the way down. Haven't missed any spots. Again, I'm careful with the edges. Making sure it's all covered. All right, the pre-stain is set for a little bit. Still got a little bit of shine to it. You can see the board in the middle there. I just hit with more pre-stain. So I can do 2 or 3 at a time, but for this demonstration, I'm just gonna do this first board here. So when applying your stain, it's important, pretty much any paint job, that you start on the edges. Always start with the edge. And this application instructions says to rub it in, but you're gonna see you don't really need to rub it in as long as your brush strokes are good. And I'm gonna show you how you do that. Again, real good around the edges here. And then we're gonna come back and fill in the middle with light brush strokes. Get the edge. Brush it in real good. And you always want your brush strokes to go back towards the driest part. Start again on the edge. this right side edge might be a little bit exposed. So I want to make sure I get it good, whereas this edge with the tongue here on the left will be hidden. It's not quite as important. Again, go back and fill in the middle. Brush it in real good and smooth. And what you don't want, you don't want brush strokes. Just want a nice, smooth application. Right now I'm just lightly brushing it, and I'm going to brush these strokes back towards the drier paint, and you can see there's really no brush strokes in it. We're going to keep this process going. Edges first. And fill in the middle. And I guess it's the pre-stain, I'm not sure, but this, it just dries really nice. And even you can see just some places here where I'm leaving a little bit of extra stain in this area where the brush strokes end. That'll all disappear as it dries, and you won't see it. So I don't think it's necessary to rub this stuff in. In fact, I kind of like it not rubbing it in. I feel like brushing with the grain direction makes it look real nice. And on the pieces that have already dried, it's just gorgeous. Stephanie's gonna be really happy with it. So we're whitewashing this because in our cabin we don't want a lot of yellow. So we're trying to get the yellow out of this pine, and this Behr whitewash stain does a really good job of getting the yellow out. And I just think it looks gorgeous when it's done. We're gonna have a lot of black trim, black windows, and we think this sort of a light white, maybe a gray, I'm not sure what color to call it. Anyway, it's not yellow or brown. We think this is gonna look gorgeous. And right now it kind of looks white, but as it dries, it's not white. It just makes a nice finish where you still see the wood grain, but you don't really see the yellow. I see a mark down here. So when you see a mark that you left, you can just kind of drag the brush down. You don't want to drag back into your dry area very often, if you can avoid it. It's cold in here today. It's probably only 45 degrees. I'm gonna have the heater running in just a second, but I wanted to turn it off so you can hear me talk. But once it starts to dry, you don't want to drag anything back into it. If you start dragging back into it, it will mess it up. So just nice brush strokes. As you get brushed in, your brush gets a little bit lighter. Brush back towards the dry area. When I'm not filming, I can do 2 to 3 boards at a time. But it is not a super fast process, but it's faster than what I'm showing here once you get a system in place. And edges first, always edges first. Pretty much a hard and fast rule of painting is edges first. Almost doesn't matter what you're painting. All right, that's all brushed in good. Light strokes. Last strokes go from the wettest part to the driest part, and we'll walk down here and you can see, man, it just makes a really nice finish. A little dog, look at her shivering. Hi, Stella. It's the next day, and I've got some boards in various stages of drying with these down here. Nearly dry, if not all the way dry. Got some nice sunshine today, and you can really get a sense of how the finish comes out. You see, it lays real flat. Hard to see any brush strokes or anything like that. This is one I just painted. And you can see as long as you just brush those strokes back in, it does really well. And for contrast, so here's the yellow of the pine versus the whitewashed. You can set a bunch up like this, you can make progress, but it takes a while. And then I move them up here to finish drying. And those are all the ones I've got finished. And it's gonna cover the ceiling. This is the product. It's a Behr product. It's their fast drying wood stain whitewash pickling. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Soon I will have more of the cabin actually finished and hopefully with the tongue and groove installed.